I think that young people will definitely have more of a voice in this election. I think also there are a lot of issues that young people have been talking about, like mental health, for a number of years that are going to come more to the forefront. And I think it's interesting that this time is the first time where I've seen a bit more of a focus in the policies and the language of politicians towards young people. And I guess it's really hard to say because one of the best things that I've read or learned is anyone who makes a prediction or tells you that this is exactly what's going to happen, don't listen to them, because no one knows. You know, we're increasingly living in a world where anything can really happen, and we've seen that in other countries with Trump. We've seen it, go from one end to the other, where we thought that the Brexit vote was going to be Remain, and actually it was to leave. So it's very difficult to predict. But I think one interesting thing will be to see the intergenerational divide. And I think that's part of the vicious cycle that you mentioned, where increasingly, because the policies are geared towards the people who are registered to vote, that's who they're going to go for. But I can see, certain policies and parties going for that youth vote. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But even within my own household and the community that I'm from, I can see the difference in the views that young people have and the views that my aunties, uncles, parents have, which are slightly more conservative. And I think that's because our generation is more likely to be civic minded, is more, we're less likely to be religious, and that's where I think it's beginning to shift, and I'd like to see that in the outcome. But it's very difficult to tell at this stage, what could happen. And one thing that I would definitely add is that, a lot of people are saying that, and this is just my own personal opinion, that Jeremy Corbyn is unelectable. But let's not forget that Tony Blair, who orchestrated and decided beforehand, and this is proven, to go to war in Iraq before, or whether or not they were going to have weapons of mass destruction, he was still elected again. So how can you tell me that someone is unelectable? And regardless of what you think about Corbyn or Labour or Theresa May or the Liberal Democrats or the Greens, why is the narrative more focused on the individual and the personality than the policies? So go and look up the manifesto, go and read it and decide for yourself, what do you think and what do you want to champion? Because you are a voice to the 3 people in this room, or the 4 people who follow you on Twitter, or the 100,000 that follow your YouTube channel. You're a voice. And even if you're just talking about, let's just go and vote for no one, that's still a political action. And then to continue it, because I think whatever the result, we should use that to engage more than to exit. And when you're finding out about things like the Panama Papers, where people are using offshore bank accounts to funnel money away and are living in a completely different world to us, I think it's very, very important that we use not just the vote, but the mobile phone as your vote, and the tweets that you're putting out, because your voice has an influence. And you telling me about the things happening in Sri Lanka, I didn't know that before this episode. So now I'm interested in going and finding out, okay, so it's not just Lockheed Martin who we're paying to do our census in 2011. There's also other things that are going on. So yeah, I think, to answer the question, how much of a voice do I think young people have? I think they're already having a very, very big voice. And we saw that with the reaction that Nick Clegg had when he had to go back on his word, not to increase the tuition fees. And I think that's partly why the Labour Party are probably, saying that we're going to get rid of tuition fees. So yeah, I think they already have a very big voice. It's just a question of how loud it's going to be in this next general election.